Hey guys, Alex here with 2 Minute Drums. We have our drum set up, so let's get started. To start, you're gonna have a couple different drums. You're gonna have your bass drum here, snare drum here. Usually we'll have a white face, and then your toms. You will have either 2, 3, or 4, and they could be set up in different ways. You do not need that much room. We're using a carpet of about 7 feet by 4 feet. The only tool you will need is your drum key. Looks like this. Starting with the bass drum, you have the peg near the front of the drum. You're going to adjust them so they point outwards on both sides. You're going to lean the drum up near the front of wherever you're playing, just like that. Next, we're going to set up the pedal. Start by loosening the clamp here. Then you're going to attach the pedal to the bottom of the drum, just like that. Make sure it's in the middle, and then tighten the clamp. If you have a pad here, you want the mallet to hit the pad. Test it out. Nice. Next, the supports for the toms. You want the twist facing inwards. You will grab the hardware for the drums and then put them into the holes. These here are locking nuts, so when you get it to the proper height, you can put them, lock them up, and then that way you'll never lose the height. It will look something like this. If you only have the 2 toms, you will remove the right piece of hardware. Next, we're going to set up the snare drum. Your snare drum should come with the snare already secure, and the latch to loosen it is right there. Of course, there's a second adjustment latch here. You can twist to make the snare tighter or looser as you see fit. We then grab the snare drum hardware. We make sure that we set the height. Each latch here, 1 to raise and lower, the second to angle, and the third here is to tighten the grip. You also have your latch at the bottom here just to open up the stand. Once you have that set and the clamps are open, place the snare drum in the clamp. This. And then tighten the bottom here to tighten the clamps. Your snare drum should be about a 90-degree angle in your arm. Next, you're going to place the snare drum on the inner left-hand side of the pedal. If you're left-handed, you will place it on the opposite side. From here, we're going to place the toms using the holes and the front and out. You will have the smaller area between the latch and the front of the tom at the front. You will lean it up this onto the tube and then tighten. You can tighten in any position for right now. We are not going to place them as of yet. And then we do the second for the opposite side. From this position, we want to just adjust the planes. So as long as our snare drum is flat, we can adjust our tom in, our second tom in as well. Now, of course, this does go based on preference. So some people like their drums a little flatter, similar to the snare drum. Some people like a more upwards faced. It is all up to you. Once adjusted, the drums kind of look like this. All the planes are generally even. Next is the floor tom. You have 2 kinds of floor toms. One that has a hook, very similar to the 2 top toms, or you have the ones with the feet here. Either way, we will adjust both. For the first tom with the latch here, you may have something that looks like this. This here is held up by this bracket here, and then you can adjust in and out and height for the tom here. loosen the latch point, and then you just want to add it on the insert like that. From here you can adjust the height and the depth here. For this guy here, you're just going to insert each leg into each hole. There will be 3, and then you just twist the adjustment knobs here to make them go higher or lower. Then you will place the toms on the floor on the right side of the set. From here, these are how the toms will look. If you can try to keep the planes on a very similar angle, it will help with overall speed and drumming. Take note, if you only have 2 toms, you will lose this one and the far one. If you have the regular 5-piece set, you will have these 4 here. You also want to angle the drums in terms of note pitch. So starting highest, lowest. Next, we move to cymbals. Our first one here is the hi-hat. So I've already partially adjusted. As you can see here, you'll have a kind of donut latch here, a bottom, middle, a bushing, a second bushing, and then the bottom clamp. All this is one piece. So you'll start by adding it in that order. Clamp, clamp, bushing, bush, cymbal, bushing, clamp. The bottom one here just is free fall. It doesn't hook up to anything, so that just gets placed like that. Once you've had that second top part set up, you place it on the top here, loosen here so it closes, all the way closed. Use your foot to push down to a certain height that you like and tighten, and from there, your hi-hat will open. Next, we're going to place the hi-hat on the left side of the snare drum. I play in a very closed position, so mine is a little bit on the north end and quite close. It is not very high above the snare drum. Next, we're going to set up the ride cymbal, which usually goes on the right side. If you only have a 2-tom setup, it will replace this tom. From there, you add the bushing, just like the top of the hi-hat. Then you have the ride cymbal here. Place that on the stand. We have a second bushing, and then the locking clamp. Next, we have the crash cymbal, a basic stand-up stand, using the latches here to adjust height, and a latch here to adjust angle. You have the bushing on the bottom. Place the ride cymbal on top, bushing again on top, and then secure. From there, the crash cymbal can be placed in a few different places, but the most popular tends to be right above the hi-hat, kind of like that. From here, you have your basic drum setup. Snare drum, first floor tom, tom 2, floor tom, and if you do have the stand-up floor tom, that works as well. Bass drum has the foot pedal kick in here. Hi-hat has a good step there, and a foot there, and you're able to pretty much touch every drum without moving too far. From here, I add personally 2 more cymbals. I can also add a china above the second floor tom. Final front view looks something like this. Once you're happy with the overall setup and placement of all your drums, you can go ahead and go through and lock all the locking nuts. That way you don't have to readjust next time you want to set up. So I hope you enjoyed the drum setup here. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you'd like more pictures, please ask away. Thanks for showing, guys. See ya.